Calling the Quabbin Regional School Committee to order for Thursday, May 11th, 2023. Good evening. First order of business is our statement of recording.
Good evening. This meeting will be recorded and will be posted to YouTube and other social media platforms. By participating in this meeting, you understand that the recording could contain a video stream or your audio stream, including images of yourself or anyone in the room with you. If you choose to enable your video or audio device during the meeting, as well as anything or anyone else that may be in the background, could be recorded. The recording could include any opinions you contribute and anything you say about yourself. On occasion, chat within the meeting could also be captured in the meeting recording. Therefore, anyone attending the recorded meeting may have aspects of their personal data recorded if they actively participate or not.
Thank you. Roll call for attendance, please.
Dr. Allen,
Yes.
Mr. Marsh,
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps,
Yes.
Mr. Willannon,
Yes.
Ms. Kelly,
Yes.
Ms. Garvey,
Yes.
Ms. Cartier, here, Ms. Chamberlain,
Yes.
Ms. Cormier,
Here.
Mr. McDonald,
Here.
Mr. Wickler,
Here.
Mrs. Thompson,
I'm here.
Mr. Nutter,
Here.
Mr. Jean-Francois,
Yes,
and Chairman Brophy.
Yes, here. It's a full committee, 15. Good evening and thank you. Before I move to the agenda, with the committee allows out of one thing out of order, would like to, after we go to the agenda, the Student Advisory Council would like to move forward. Is there any objection? Thank you. And then before we move to approval of our minutes, I'd like to just quickly share a quick moment of silence. Dr. McDonald, the headmaster of Eagle Hill School, died Tuesday. Eagle Hill School is not only in our backyard. We have worked with Eagle Hill in many instances and continue. And I think this is a very, Eagle Hill has done connections with us, not only with IB and other issues, but I think a moment of silence for Dr. McDonald, who has done human perspectives with Eagle Hill School. Thank you. You'll hear more, you'll read it in the paper. There is the visitation and there'll be wake and funeral. So if you're interested, look at the paper, but it will be on Monday and Tuesday. So thoughts and prayers and any support. And we all know how Eagle Hill has been a good asset, and then the leadership of Dr. McDonald. So it's going to be tough, but Crystal and all the work and everything that's happening over there. And thank you. Very sad and very tragic.
And Nettie worked there for quite a while too.
Ned would work for many years. So first item of business is approval of minutes. You have in your packet in the drive for April 6th.
Move approval.
Beautiful. Seconded. Are there any potential omissions, corrections, or deletions? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, please.
Dr. Allen,
Yes.
Mr. Marsh,
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps,
Yes.
Mr. Willannon,
Yes.
Ms. Kelly.
I'm sorry, one question. Ned's on here? Should I be on here? Is that my?
No, because this was April 6th, not the 13th. I somehow forgot to put the approval of minutes for the 13th on here. We'll do it next
We'll
time.
do it again next time.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Garvey,
Yes.
Ms. Cartier,
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain,
Yes.
Ms. Cormier,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Wickler,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Nutter,
Yes.
Mr. Jean-Francois,
yes,
And Chairman Brophy.
Yes. Thank you. I'm going to turn over to Dr. Muir, the Student Advisory Council.
So tonight we have some students from Hubbardston Center School joining us. And I'm going to invite Mrs. Peterson to introduce them, and that will be followed by sixth grade student who's here to tell us a little bit about what's going on in middle school. So I'm gonna, Mrs. Peterson, would you like to introduce your students?
I would love to. I have, so I invited 6 students tonight because we thought sharing student work would be one of the greatest things we can do, a nice gift to the Quabbin Regional School District School Committee. So I have 4th graders here that wrote poems. The theme was I Am, and it was somewhat formulaic, but each of them had their own style and their own thoughts to add to that. I will say, unfortunately, 2 of the boys that I've invited, one has a baseball game right now, so he panicked today and he said, we're going to try to scoot off the field and log in. So I told him, do your best. If you can't, it's okay. I'll read your poem for you. And the other boy has been sick all week, so he is working hard to log in tonight, but we'll see how it goes. So the students that I invited, Liam Shaw, Ryan Colgate, Jacob Blanchard, Mai Shao Lee, Avery Melanson, and Nora McDonald. And I will say this was a recommendation from their teacher, from Mrs. Hayes, their 4th grade ELA teacher. She thought their poetry really captured kind of who they are, and really was quite personal, and she was really proud of all of them. They were a little nervous, you know, I understand that, but they're all here and they look fabulous. I can see them. So Liam and Ryan are the 2 boys that may or may not be able to log in, but we decided we go alphabetically. So each student will introduce themselves when they log in, and we will start with Jacob. I see him ready to go. So Jacob, unmute and your turn.
Hi, my name is Jacob Blanchard, and I am in 4th grade from Hubbardston Center School, and I'll be reading my poem today. I am a soccer player who loves soccer. I wonder why there are so many teams. I hear the net swish. I see the crowd jumping like kangaroos. I want my team to win. I am a soccer player who loves soccer. I pretend I am playing for Argentina. I feel the air flowing through my hair. I touch a soccer ball with my feet. I worry if the crowd goes too wild. I cry when my team loses in World Cup. I am a soccer player who loves soccer. I understand the game really well. I say good game at the end. I dream of being in the World Cup. I try to play my hardest. I hope we have a good season. I'm a soccer player who loves soccer.
Awesome. Excellent work, Jacob. Nicely done. All right. So Ryan, are you here? Were you able to log in? No. Okay. So I feel like I should read Ryan's poem, and I won't have the same spunk that he does, but here it goes. I am a baseball player and an artist. I wonder what all the wonders of the world look like. I hear the sound of my dog barking. I see my bearded dragon on his hammock. I want a pet sloth or 2. I'm a baseball player and an artist. I pretend that I have every animal in the world. I feel like I'm smart. I touch all of my pets. I worry about being in a small spot. I cry, I love dogs. I'm a baseball player and an artist. I understand I'm not the best. I say good game at the end of my baseball game. I dream of having a pet sloth. I try to be a fast typer. I hope that I can get a pet sloth. I am a baseball player and an artist. Yay, Ryan. All right, Mai Shao, you are up next.
Hi, my name is Mai Shao Lee. I'm a 4th grader from Hubbardston Center School. I am a girl who is a farmer. I wonder if my pigs are going to be having piglets. I hear my roosters crowing. I want a cat. I am a girl who is a farmer. I pretend that my chickens is a parrot. I feel happy around my I feel happy about my goats having children. I touch the little baby goats. I worry about my chickens getting attacked by my dog. I cry when my chickens attack me. I am a girl who is a farmer. I understand that my goats are hungry. I say to my dog to come here. I dream about having a cat. I try to take care of my animals. I hope that we have baby pigs in the spring. I am a girl who's a farmer.
That was awesome. Mai Shao was a little nervous, I'll be honest. She wasn't really crazy about this idea, but she took a risk. I'm so proud of you, Michelle. That was wonderful. All right, Nora.
Hi, I'm Nora McDonald, and I'm a fourth grader at Hubbardson Center School. I am a Starbucks lover who loves pink drinks. I wonder what will be on the menu. I hear the crushing ice. I see my delicious brownie. I want my order. I am a Starbucks lover who loves pink drinks. I pretend to be a waitress. I feel my hungry stomach. I touch my ice cold drink. I worry that my order will not be right. I cry if my order doesn't come. I am a Starbucks lover who loves pink drinks. I understand that I will not get Starbucks every day. I say more for me. I dream of Starbucks. I try new things. I hope they get my order right. I'm a Starbucks lover who loves pink drinks.
So great, Nora. They should probably market that. I mean, that's the commercial right there. Right? Nicely done. All right, Miss Avery, you ready? You're up.
Hold on. There you go.
Hi, I am. Hi, my name's Avery Melanson, and I go to Hubbard. I am in fourth grade, and I go to Hubbardson Center School. I am a girl who loves kittens. I wonder why they're so fluffy. I hear Piper meowing in the bathroom. I see Piper on the table. I want to pet her all the time. I am a girl who loves kittens. I pretend that she's in a wedding. I feel happy when she sits with me. I touch her fluffy face. I worry when I can't find her. I cry when she doesn't cuddle me. I am a girl who loves kittens. I understand that I can't pick her up. I say, I love you, kitty. I dream about my kitty, and I try to pet her, but she runs away from me. I hope she doesn't scratch me. I am a girl who loves kittens.
Great.
So great. Okay. I don't know if Liam was able to log in. Liam, you here? I don't see him. Poor guy. He's not really feeling well. So to do him justice, if I may, I will read his poem for us. I am a boy who plays sports. I wonder how many soccer balls there are in the world. I hear my soccer teammates yell, get open. I see my parents come to the game. I want to win the game. I am a boy who loves sports, who plays sports, excuse me. I pretend I'm Tom Brady. I feel the football laces in my hand. I touch the other team's linemen. I worry we're going to lose. I cry when we lose the game. I'm a boy who plays sports. I understand that I have to get the ball in the hoop. I say, get open, Bentley. I dream I will be really good. I try to get better. I hope I will win the game. I'm a boy who plays sports. Yay! So congratulations to all my fourth graders. Woo! Awesome job. Thank you, school committee, for entertaining us, and I'm sure you enjoyed that. And if you have any questions, please feel free.
Are there any, Dr. Allen?
You need to know that you were following a very rich history in our district. Jimmy Beshta was our teacher who specialized in poetry at Quabbin Regional High School. They had magazines in poetry. They had kids who wrote poems that were published nationally. And what your kids are doing is following in this very rich history and tradition, and they should know about this.
Well, thank you, Dr. Allen. Perhaps we will do a little research on this poet and inspire our students to follow that same track. I think it's a wonderful idea. They were able to express themselves through prose, and I think that's a talent, and I'm excited to see where it takes them. Thank you.
Yeah, that was really pretty good.
Yes.
Anyone else? Just a quick question. Just want to say thank you to the students. Your language was alive. Dr. Allen used the word rich. It was rich in description. And I'm curious, is there another assignment before the end of the year? You had I am. Is there another one potentially going to be on the docket for June, May or June? Another type
Who
of a
wants to
poem?
talk about that? Was there more poetry that you wrote? Maybe Nora or Avery or Maishao, did you have other poems, or Jacob, that you wrote or are hoping to write this year? No. Okay. It's probably part of a unit that they did, Dr. Allen, excuse me, Mr. Rofi. They probably did this as part of a unit at that point in the year. I think they wrote them about a month ago, I'd say.
Okay.
So sometimes they sort of cycle through different units and do those things, but maybe they'll take it up as a hobby and continue to write, because they really were good. I agree, their language is rich, and you can almost see the whole thing come to life when you listen to their words. I was super impressed, and I know that this was a risk for them, but I'm super proud of them. They did a great job. Yep, I see you smiling over there, Miss.
No, great job, and thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
A great way to start a committee meeting.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, after this, it's.
And they can all log off.
No, no,
too, so they get some
more
break.
students. We have more students after them.
Okay, so next we have middle school, grade 6 students. I'm just going to pull up his presentation. So that he's got a slide to share with us, and then
Just trying to get the slide up.
We're just trying to get the slide up.
Good smile. Good evening. You want to tell us your name? Garrett, okay. We're just waiting for the technology to put up what you'd like to show us and explain. So
it's coming, Garrett.
here we go.
There you
There
go.
you go,
Thank
Garrett.
you.
It's all yours.
I'll enjoy it. We have special. Go inside and walk the during art, we made sculptures from clay. My first clay sculpture was a duck, the second one was a bee. In music, we are learning about scary music. I'm looking forward to my field trip to the Worcester Bravehearts. It will be fun. I'm excited to see if I will see anyone recognizable. I hope I won't have to wait in line for 45 minutes again. One thing I'm excited for next year is the Boston trip. It sounds very exciting. It will be a fun trip and we get to walk around and have a lot of fun. One thing that I'm excited for is going there and with our friends and going places that I've never been before. I love going to school and working on cool things and seeing new things in the classroom, like new seating or a new poster. My teachers make the day interesting and fun, especially when we do kids or computes, but I also like doing group work. I want to thank you guys for inviting me for this opportunity where I can share what is going on in 6th grade this year. Quabbin does a great job running their school. I'm very happy that 6th grade has moved up here to Quabbin. It truly is a wonderful experience. I also can agree the food here is good. And since I get up early, I'm hungry by first lunch.
Are there any questions?
No questions, but a comment. To have a young student to present, not just this student, but we have others, but to present them to a bunch of adults that he or she has never seen is just an awesome thing to do. So congratulations to you.
Good job, Gary. Great job. Garrett, did you play any sports?
Not really anymore.
Not really anymore. I won't tell Coach Kelly this. Do you do band and music and you sing?
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Gareth, can you talk about 3D printing you mentioned in STEM? So as a sixth grader starting to use our 3D printers?
Yeah. We got to design either we got to choose from a luggage tag or a keychain, and we could like choose between, because we didn't get all the colors in. We had the options of gray and blue, and then also since we were using Tinkercad, we were also designing like rooms and stuff, but we weren't 3D printing those.
Do you think you have an interest in any coding or anything after doing some of that 3D printing?
I like designing.
You like designing it? Awesome.
Nice. I have one last question, Garrett. What would be some advice for a fifth grader right now that's going to be coming up into the sixth grade?
Just be yourself, be confident, and you'll like fit in, and all the teachers are excited to have you, and you'll learn a lot.
Great advice.
Great.
advice.
Great advice.
Great advice.
One quick question. Was it a good move on our part to move the sixth grade to the middle school?
I think so.
That's what I wanted to hear. So it was a nice transition from last year to this year, and then settling in. Do you feel very comfortable? Nice climate, good culture?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, right answer.
You had good answers. And again, as Mr. Land mentioned, thank you for not seeing us standing there and presenting. Wonderful. Your tone, the way you paced yourself, and your words of explanation of what was going on. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you. No, that's all we have.
Okay, that's great. All right. Back onto the agenda. We'll go right to the administrative reports. Superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll pull up the school committee report. Share screen. A very lengthy report this month, so I'm just going to give you highlights so as not to prolong the meeting. Just can you scroll through it on here as we get through it? Thank you.
Oh, no, I'm good.
So we are still working on the strategic plan. I won't go into a lot of detail, but we feel confident that we will have a final draft for you to review and hopefully accept in June. Our school safety work is getting underway. Our consultants are going to be in the district beginning next week, to visit the schools and meet with staff and begin their assessment of our school safety protocols. Graduation is on June 2nd. I'm sure you are all aware of that, but I want to just remind you that event is happening, and we love to have school committee members attend. There are many, I said this last month, and I want to reinforce that there are many wonderful events happening in our schools every day, but in particular in the spring, we have lots of special events. So if you can attend any of those. I know the students, the parents, the administrators, and I certainly appreciate that. Just a school resource officer update for folks from the middle high school and Ruggles Lane School. Our previous school resource officer had resigned from the Barry Police Department, and so it's been difficult for Barry Police to give us as much school resource officer time as they would like to. But just a few weeks ago, I met with Chief Saborin, and we will have Sergeant Davidson back. And he will be in the middle high school and Ruggles Lane School 5 days per week, beginning in August. So that is wonderful news.
He was very good.
He's an outstanding school resource officer, and he is very excited about coming back. And he is checking in on the schools and others as well. So we have a presence in the building, but Russell Davidson will be there full-time in the fall, and we are very excited for that. I have included in this report some details. As you probably know, the Senate Ways and Means released their budget earlier this week. I won't go through this, but there is a great deal of data here provided by the Massachusetts Association of Regional Schools that compares the House Ways and Means budget, the House final budget, the governor's budget, and the Senate Ways and Means budget in each of the general categories that pertain to schools. So you can see where that information stands. They did increase rural aid significantly in the Senate budget, and you'll see a lot of the other areas remained about the same. We just received our cherry sheets yesterday. Cheryl will talk a little bit more about that in her report, but great information here that you can use. It's a snapshot, but it is really helpful information, I think. I wanted to share that we have expended most of our FY23 rural schools funding. This year, we decided to purchase some vehicles. Mm-hmm. We purchased 4 vans for student transport, and one of them is a wheelchair van, and we purchased a pickup truck for the plant and facilities department so that our plant and facilities manager does not have to use his pickup truck to haul things around the district quite as much as he has been doing. So there are pictures of the vehicles in the report. But we're, just wanted to share sort of what our vision for using these vehicles is. As you know, our post-grad program travels extensively and tries to get into the community for their work experience very regularly. We are now paying van pool every time those students need to leave the building. It's the process for using van pool is a little bit restricted because we need to give them a lot of advance notice. And if something's going to change, we also have to cancel in advance, way in advance, or we're charged. So that's been limiting a little bit to our postgrads. So we wanted to get some vehicles so that the postgrads could have more access more frequently to different opportunities. But we also foresee, so the priority for use of these vehicles will be our substantially separate special education programs, including the postgrad program, but also our life skills program at the middle, high school, and elementary level. But we also, I think we have more ideas for using these vans than we have vans at this point. And every day we think, oh, we could use them for this, or we could use them for that. So there are a lot of other opportunities to use these vehicles to benefit students and to give students additional opportunities. So, and also to save money. So we will now save the cost of the transportation for our the transportation that we're paying to Vanpool to transport students in our substantially separate programs. But also we think we can save some money in athletic transportation because our special education programs will likely be using the vans only during the school day. And then after school, we have small teams that travel sometimes for contests, and we feel like we can use those as well. So we're very excited about this purchase, and I think we received the registrations and the plates today for 2 of them, so I think they'll be in use very soon. So very excited to use.
Who are you finding for drivers? Do you have to train the drivers and get them specially licensed?
Because of the passenger capacity of these vans, there are only going to be 8 passenger vans. We do not need to use anyone with a special license in the way we're utilizing them. So we actually removed, so they are 12 passenger vans, but we're removing 1 row of seats to reduce the capacity so that it falls under the limit where they can be driven by someone with a typical driver's license. Absolutely. And just wanted to give a shout out to Nancy Landry, our Human Resources Manager. We have been deeply involved in negotiations with all of our employee groups, and Nancy has been just extremely busy and supporting that process. It's been quite intense, and it is ongoing, as I'm sure you'll hear later in the meeting. But and she's also helping us post a lot of positions, still unfilled positions. The good news is that we have begun to hire for some open positions for next year, and we've been successful in filling some positions that are hard to fill. So we're very excited about some of the hires that we've been able to make. We've found some outstanding candidates. And I also wanted to announce that we have appointed Erin Cook as the new Hubbardston Center School principal. She will be joining us. Her official start date is July 1st, but she'll be joining us at the end of June because we have several days that the administrative team works together at the end of June. So she'll be joining us in that work. And I'm sure you will see her very soon at a future meeting.
Go ahead, Dr. Allen.
Now, when we were talking earlier about the missing music department person and that slot being difficult to fill, my recollection is you have somebody for the fall.
Yes, Ms. Mohawk can.
Sure, we actually hired him now. So he started with us it was the week after April vacation. We had a mentor meeting today. He's really enjoying his time here at Quabbin. He seems like a great addition to the music department. He is a drummer and trombone player, and he is super excited about the end of the year concerts. He's thrilled that this is the time of year he got to come in, and he'll continue with us next year.
What's his name?
Tim Kane. He's done some work up at Eagle Hill, as a matter of fact. Does this name ring a bell? Yep.
What's he going to be doing?
He's elementary music.
And I think Mr. Wyman is going to speak about the teaching, learning, and support programs.
I am. Thank you, Cheryl. So it's been a busy month, as it is every month. We were lucky enough to welcome new 6th grade families to the middle high school at the end of April. We had a great transition night that was very well attended. They got to learn more about the programming available to them in the middle high school, meet some of the teachers and staff that they'll be working with, and start getting to know the high school, middle high school a little bit better. There'll be more transition activities later as we get into the summer and approach the school year, but this was just a first sort of introduction and welcoming to the school. We also had a school choice open house night for families that were considering choicing into Quabbin. That was also very well attended. They learned about NJROTC, as well as our music program, our sports programs, the innovation pathways. They got a tour of the high school. They got to sample some of the wonderful food in the cafeteria and talk with some staff about what it's like to be a student here in Quabbin. And it was well attended and people seemed very excited. So we're hoping for good results from that. Next week, we'll have our kindergarten screening night. Our preschool letters have gone out and we have ads in papers for preschool as well. In terms of some of our professional learning activities, we've had 110 QRSD educators take advantage of our expanded learning time grant. That is a grant a competitive grant we got from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education that pays teachers for some out of school time planning and professional development. We've used it extensively with the new literacy curriculum, but we've used it with SEL, science, and other teachers as well. In terms of the SEL program, we have an ongoing committee for SEL mental health, and one piece of work coming out of there is in the middle high school, a pilot program working on tier 2 interventions, so short interventions with students that might have some additional needs. We're working with some of our staff to provide those interventions during the school day to help students that might be struggling with anxiety or might benefit from some strategies that will allow them to be more successful in school going forward. I mentioned the new literacy curriculum as another part of that work. That was a part of a different grant, actually, that we were able to receive. We've been partnering with the Hill for Literacy, and that work has been going on all year, but we've recently had some additional on-site coaching that happened in each of our elementary schools within the last few weeks. We are again we're going to have again this summer, the Summer Learning Grant. We applied for $100,000, and it's going to be for elementary and middle school programs and free to families. So that's getting organized now. We're beginning to hire staff. Students and families have expressed interest, and that will be there'll be more to come about that in the next couple of months. We have been doing a review of our math curriculum and of our science curriculum in the middle high school, and there are 2 new grants coming out to support the adoption and implementation of new curriculum, each in math and science. So that was well timed for us. We're going to be applying for those. They're both due in June. So we're working on those now, and we'll be submitting them in the next couple of weeks. You may remember we approved a trip for some students for a DECA conference in Florida. That happened towards the end of April. 3 students went down. You might remember those students had won a regional competition. Then they went to a state level competition and were able to, 2 of them won there, and then another of them was still invited to attend the international conference down in Florida. So those 3 students went down with a couple of chaperones and had a wonderful experience. They're very excited about that. As part of our Innovation Pathway program, we had a group of students do a job shadow day at FlexCon to learn more about career opportunities there, and more about what it's like to work in a manufacturing setting. And then next week, we're doing another field trip with a different group of students to learn more about a company called Sisson Engineering, which is a precision manufacturing and engineering company up in Orange. So we're going to take a group of about 20 kids up to learn about career opportunities in that field, what it's like to work there, and learn more about Sisson, a company that we're beginning to partner with more. And I think that is everything I am going to report this month.
Thank you, Joe.
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Allen? Dr. Allen?
One of the boys that went to that DECA conference, Therese Salvador's son, came up and talked to me the other day. And he was very excited about that. He thought that was a great learning experience, that many of the kids in the business program are graduating, and so he's busy hustling. This is Teresa's boy, right? Yes. Busy hustling to get more people into the program. And he asked a special thanks to the school committee for approving that. And I wanted to pass that on.
And I touched base with the superintendent and with Jessica, and hoping that in June we could hear from have the students come and give us a little presentation. And that would be a nice thing to hear. And not only because that was a really good thing that they were able to make it as far as they did.
Oh, yes.
Nice to hear.
And the one that was competing down there didn't quite win, but he was pretty close.
And it was our first year. And I think they mentioned that when they were approved for the trip, but I think it's worth remembering that the program was in its first year. So I think having the opportunity to send 3 kids to to that international conference in Florida was more than we imagined we'd be able to achieve in just a few short months, really.
Right. Thank you.
Dr. Campione.
Thank you. Good evening, Kristen Campione, Director of Student Services. I just want to start with the Special Olympics Quabbin Day Games that will be held on May 25th on Alumni Field from 9:30 to 12:30. We hope to see you there. I also wanted to just mention that our CPAC, our Special Education Parent Advisory Council, will be participating in the Apple Institute, which is sponsored by the Federation for Children with Special Needs. So there are seminars that we will attend this spring and part of the summer and into the fall. It's a free virtual training, and it's to help parent leaders, special education administrators, and school community members build collaborative leadership teams. So we have 4 people on our team. We have our CPAC chair. We have a Hubbardston Center School parent. Our CPAC chair is a parent from Ruggles Lane. I will be attending along with Julie Brewer, one of our team chairs. And we have Cindy Lipinskis from MOC, Montechusett Opportunity Council. So she helps with the early childhood grants in the area. So she'll be joining us. It's very exciting. Sheila already mentioned the vans, and we're so thankful for her and Kevin for getting those. The students will be so excited to have their own vans. It's kind of exciting to have the logo on them too. I hope that that's part of the plan because that will be really exciting. New faculty staff, the last thing I promise I will mention, we have been interviewing. We've been very busy, as Sheila said, with Nancy Landry. We filled our 5th speech language pathologist, our 3rd BCBA, which will be for our autism classrooms exclusively. And we have filled one of our autism program teaching positions, as well as a paraprofessional. I do hot off the press. We filled 2. I just got word today that they were accepted 2 of our social worker positions. We've been short a elementary social worker position all year. So we did find an excellent candidate. And we also filled Jane Cremens' position. She'll be retiring this year. She's our secondary social worker. So I'm really excited to report that we have excellent candidates that have accepted to come to Quabbin. So that's all I have for tonight. And go Celtics. Go Celtics.
Mr. Walsh?
Just some quick updates. The change order on the security cameras at the central office and the high school is nearly complete. We're meeting tomorrow with the project manager and the installer to go over the last punch list items. And I'm hoping this is the last time I have to give an update about the security system other than what they've done. The webpage, we met with the website designer yesterday to go over some aesthetic things. That was completed. The school homepages are now being made, and the substructure, so all the subpages for each department are being created. The technology staff and the 2 individuals who will be website administrators with us will be getting trained on Monday, and hopefully we'll take over the site late next week or early the week after and start publishing all of our information to it. The cybersecurity grant is ongoing. The staff is now on their 3rd module for cybersecurity training. There will be 1 more in June and then another in November. We are still going through MCAS testing. We are almost done. So far, we have not had any major technology issues. And staffing, we completed interviews this week for the open tier 1 technology position. I'm hoping to make an offer either the end of this week or early next week and get our staffing level back to normal for the end of school. In the past month, we have had closed 205 support tickets for a total of 2,458 for the school year. And that's all I have.
Support ticket.
What's that?
Andrew, do you want to explain the ticketing system that you use?
Yeah, so we have a ticketing system. So anytime there's a technology issue in the classroom, it's not a problem with the ticketing system. That's how they request help. So instead of the technology, just one technology person getting the information, it goes out to the entire technology staff so that we can respond much faster. So anytime there's a problem, that's how they request our help.
Cheryl.
Well, as the superintendent said, the cherry sheets were released late yesterday afternoon, early evening. Unfortunately, we saw new money in our Chapter 78, so our number is set. We saw a very small $550 increase in charter tuition reimbursement that is being offset by the same value in charter school sending tuition, so nothing there.
The Senate did reduce the amount of regional school transportation aid from 100% to 90%. We all knew that was happening. If you remember from our last budget meeting, we are not using the cherry sheet number for the first time in 28 years. I'm using the actual number because we had a new contract and the state doesn't know about our new contract. So I calculated that number for us. An update on, I think I reported a couple months ago that we put in an application for congressional directed spending from the federal government. The Hardwick Town Administrator sent this along to us and we had one day to do the application. We got it in and we hadn't heard anything. So I reached out to both Senator Markey's office and CMRPC, which is very helpful in this. And it doesn't look like these grants are going to be issued until October. So unfortunately, we also don't know if this grant funding can be used to backfill local funding. So if we use our local reserves to do a certain project, we're not sure, we don't know yet whether we can backfill that project. But I'm keeping that data, that correspondence up with these two people that I now have their emails and phone numbers. Our special education transportation contract renewal for next year kind of threw us all for a loop. A team of us spent time on 2 meetings with the team from Vanpool, which is now called Beacon. They had presented a proposal to us that was a 15% in year 1, followed by 5% for 4 years, or 7.3% for 5 years. We didn't like either one of those. We called them back to the table. They listened to our woes. We listened to their woes. We did some math and some calculating. We had another vendor interested in our routes. That was very expensive. So we decided to counter Vanpool's offer at 5.4 next year, 6.4 the year after that, and 7.4 after that. They also wanted to increase the monitor rate. We have a number of monitors on our special education routes from $93.35 a day to 130. We asked them to consider 120. They said they just can't do it. So we went with 130 a day. But we'll keep an eye on it. We had a long conversation over 2 occasions. I know Sheila was there for at least one. I think Dr. Campione was there for both, about our service and how disappointed Dr. Campione is in the service we're getting from Vanpool and our students. And we have been promised on 2 occasions that it will get better. We're waiting to see it get better. As Dr. Amir said, the school safety team will be on board next week. I do have a very long report for the facilities, if you don't mind just reading that, because I have more important issues tonight. School nutrition, unfortunately, in the Senate budget, they did not fund the universal free meals, but the House and the governor did. So it will be going to conference committee and we'll see what comes out of that. We're certainly hoping that that will be the case. The status of the funding for the press box bleacher project is now, Mr. Michael ran over here at 4 o'clock and said, we got another $500. It's now over $30,000. I want you to put it in tonight's report. So it's $30,123. And we did receive a rather decent donation of $10,000 from Margaret and Thomas Mertzick. So I was wondering if the school committee would send a special letter of thanks to that family.
So moved. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So moved. Seconded, and I would think all in favor. Aye, unanimous.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, just for giving you more work. The grant report is available to you. In bold is the only new grant from this report. It's grant number 436, Innovation Pathways Planning Grant for $2,400. Warrants released since last school committee, payroll biweekly warrants 21, 22, and 23. Weekly payroll warrants 40 to 45. Accounts payable warrants, here we go, 66 FQ, 67 FR, 68 FP, 69A, 70H, 71B, 72A, 73B, 74 FP, 75 FO, and 60 FQ. I don't know what happened. I'll have to check that one.
I just signed them.
I would like to jump down in my report because we're talking about warrants. You would remember that last month I came to the committee asking for a vote to switch the positions of treasurer and assistant treasurer because Mr. Christensen was retiring on April 30th. He agreed to stay on board, but Ms. Forcier would become the treasurer. I received a phone call on Monday morning and that plan is no longer the plan. Come the middle of April, Mr. Christensen went back to his corporate office and said, I really need to stay on. We have a lot more tax returns to do. And he said, okay, that's fine. Well, they had hired someone to take over the Ware office. They're right on Main Street, Ware, to take over the office. Well, he's no longer there. And corporate office has decided to close that office. So we will no longer have a treasurer and assistant treasurer by the end of the year, the end of the fiscal year. They have agreed to stay on until we go through our fiscal year close. So I would like to talk about this a little bit tonight because I want to know which way the committee wants to go on this. The committee appoints the treasurer.
Right.
I was talking with Ms. Scarry today, and I highly doubt we'll be able to get this situation where we have a treasurer and assistant treasurer that work in the same building, in the same firm. But they are employees of the district. Mr. Christensen gets paid very little, and he's a bonded employee. Ms. Borsier does not get any money from the district, and she is a bonded employee. The other route to go would be to hire a consultant, an outside agency or outside company that would be our treasurer. I'd like to try to find a person that would agree to become an employee of the district. I think that would be a better relationship for us. Mr. Christensen and Ms. Borsier have agreed to be on the interview committee so that they can ask them certain questions and, they know more than us about the treasurer function. And they have agreed to do that. So that's the route I'd like to take. And then if we could do that interviewing and then maybe present someone to the school committee or at least get your blessing of the appointment.
So I think we should vote to empower Cheryl to pursue as best as she can and then present to the committee her results.
Second.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Any other further comments? And just so we know, because usually by June, when we do the reorganization, we tend to also vote to the audit, the treasurer and the assistant treasurer.
I don't think we'll be ready by then, honestly.
Okay.
But if we could at that time extend Mr. Christensen and Ms. Corsier until I'll get a better knowledge of the date of when their building will actually be closing, probably mid-July. And then hopefully we'll get somebody as soon as possible. But I don't think we'll have anyone to be voted on.
I think we empowered and we got the flexibility. We understand the urgency and we know it's capable hands. So any further comment, question? Roll call for.
Can I ask one quick question?
Yes.
Do we have to vote to rescind the vote?
We do that first.
We'll do that. We're going to do that first.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to be on the right tab, that's all.
Okay, so we'll hold that motion for a moment. On the agenda in new business, rescind vote from April 6, 2023 on appointment of Treasurer Kathleen Borsier.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Roll call on that.
Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willannon?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Ms. Cartier?
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Cormier?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wiggler?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Jean-Francois?
Yes.
Chairman Brophy?
Yes. And back to new motion made by Lee, seconded by Dr. Allen, the empowerment to move forward, and we'll get a report forthwith. So. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willannon?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Ms. Cartier?
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Cormier?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wiggler?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Jean-Francois?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Thank you. Tonight, we're going to ask the committee to consider to incur debt for the two projects that it seems like we've been talking about them for ages. The replacement for the HVAC system, the chiller part of the HVAC system at the Quabbin Regional Middle High School, and the press box and bleacher project for the alumni field. We had talked about it for a long time, but now it's time to go. I did do some research just to update you. per our regional agreement, this is what it says. We need a two-thirds vote of the full committee to move this forward. And after that, within that vote, and our regional agreement states that the committee has to vote which method they are going to proceed with to incur debt, whether it is subsection D or subsection N in Chapter 71, Section 16. Subsection D allows for the majority vote at a town meeting. And bond council recommends that the school committee vote to incur debt in accordance with this subsection. And he has drafted the motion as such. I believe the motion was on your agenda.
Yes.
Subsection D, however, there are some rules with that. We must provide written notice of the amount of debt and the general purpose for which it will be authorized to the Board of Selectmen in each of the towns no later than 7 days on the date in which the debt was authorized by the district committee. Those letters are ready to go between Jess and I think you have to actually sign them, Jess, as the secretary. They'll be ready to go tomorrow. No debt may be incurred until the expiration of 60 days after the date on which the debt was authorized. And before that expiration period, any member town of a regional school district may hold a town meeting for the purpose of expressing disapproval of the amount of debt authorized. So that 60 days is definitely going to come into play for us.
Does that mean that it goes through unless they disapprove, or do they have to approve town meeting?
I'm not a lawyer, but there's one sitting next to you. The language is, before the expiration of this period, any member town of a regional school district may hold a town meeting for the purpose of expressing disapproval of the amount of the debt authorized by the district committee. And if at that meeting, a majority of the voters present and voting express disapproval of the amount authorized by the district committee, the debt shall not be incurred.
So it goes through unless they specifically meet and specifically vote not to let it through?
Yes.
Right. Thank you.
Subsection N allows for a ballot vote to be taken at an election. Bond counsel doesn't believe that's the better way to go, so I agreed with our bond counsel there. The projects at hand, the HVAC chiller replacement, we do have a quote that is $387,344 to get installed. The press box and bleachers, we have updated amounts for the system itself, but we were not able to get updated site costs and engineering costs. So they were actually going to charge us to increase that. So we had someone else take a look at it, and they said because we had the site work quoted prior to COVID, he said, you got to add 25% for this. So that is $350,684. I am taking the liberty of rounding that up to $750. You only borrow the exact cost of your expenses. Right. But if we don't vote a number high enough, we'll be going back to town meeting. Right. So I have a little spurt in here about understanding the borrowing process. So I worked with our financial advisor team at Unibank. The lead on that is Margaret McLean. We've worked for her the entire 22 years that I've been here. She's been not only through some of our building projects, but also the recent projects on the middle high school. And bond counsel is Richard Manley. We've used him before as well. He's now at Loch Lord. He is the one who has provided the language for the vote tonight. Ms. McLean prepared repayment schedules for a 5, 7, or 10-year bond anticipation notes. She says that you can use bond anticipation notes rather than bonding the debt for up to a 10-year period. And for the amount of $750,000, she advises against doing a bond because the interest rate we get will be extraordinarily high. She explained that bands are allowed for 10 years, and usually you don't need to do the debt that way. So that I think is the way that we should look at this. I did provide for you on the report an estimate of what it would cost each of the towns. I do have this by town by year. They're just estimates because, as you know, debt that is incurred is paid by our member towns based on student enrollment. So the first year of this debt would be based on the October 1 enrollment of students in Quabbin this year. And because this is a middle high school project only, our regional agreement states that the allocation is by the students at Quabbin Regional Middle High School only. So it's not pre-K to SP, which is post-grad program. So I have provided that information for you just to go into the record tonight. The interest on a 5-year ban is estimated at $107,000. At 7 years, it's $144,000, and at 10 years, $200,000. So what we did the last time, it was quite a while ago now, but the financial advisor, once these projects started going, she actually came in and did a presentation for anyone from the towns that would like to understand what we're doing. And because I think we made a decision on the middle high school to bond for something like 13 years, because that's what the towns wanted to, the payback schedule they wanted. And I suggested that's the way we take this as well. Okay. Understanding the ramifications of a failed authorization vote. I think I've mentioned enough times over the last few months that our chiller is no longer working. We are a little hesitant of what the summer month will take us in when we get into June at our middle high school. The options to rent a piece of equipment to get us through is extraordinarily high. We really want to see if we can get this project done. If our towns choose not to put this on their annual town meeting warrant, we probably won't be opening school, because we all know when they come back to school at the end of August how extremely hot a portion of that building is. The middle school always, and then all of the classrooms on this side. So we most likely would have to delay school. I'm really concerned about the town of Hubbardston. When I reached out on April 7th to the town administrators to ask when their warrant closes, I got a message back that says our warrant is closed in early April, first week of April. He said, however, if you get me the information in the next few weeks, I will get it on. Later on, he said, he asked me where we were. I said, I have the language from Loch Lord for the language. Will that help you? He said, yes, please send it. I sent the whole memo from Loch Lord to the town. I got an email end of last week. I need your numbers by May 11th. I informed him that the committee would be taking action tonight. I gave him the numbers on Monday. He responded with, the select board is having a meeting this coming Monday to see if they will open the warrant. That didn't leave me feeling very comfortable that the town of Hubbardston would be taking action at the town meeting for this. So this has to be unanimous in all five towns with a simple majority vote.
I thought,
Dr. Allen, then
I thought if we voted it, they didn't have to vote it. They could vote it down, but they couldn't.
But they have the 60 days to do that. So if a town doesn't put it on the annual town meeting warrant so that we would know the results, whether the debt had been authorized or not by the end of June, our last town meeting is Saturday, June 24th. They have 60 days, which would take us from July 11th.
Yeah, but if they don't vote it, if they don't have it on the warrant, then it's not likely they're going to vote it down.
But we have to wait the 60 days, which would be July 11th. We are really hoping to get this project going as soon as we can. So actually, and I don't know that we need a vote tonight, but I'd like to have discussion of the district allowing us to use reserves to at least get this project started. We can, if the debt gets authorized, which we are hoping the debt gets authorized, at least for the chiller project, that we can backfill that with the borrowing. We know, I've checked with bond counsel and with the financial advisor, we can do that. Unlike the grant that we don't know whether we can or not, you can do that with borrowing. I think it's going, I forget how many weeks it's going to take, and I don't think Mr. Clark's online tonight, but I think our best plan is to move forward with district reserves and take this route. Because if we wait for the 60 days to know whether or not we can even do it with borrowing, it's going to set us behind. And let's face it, even if we don't get the authorization vote from the towns, we have to get this project done, or we're not opening school.
Right, we have to do it anyway. It has to be done. Depends on, like you said, which avenue. So it sounds like it's both the to be able to move forward and then have reserves to move. I mean, do you want one over the other or both?
No, I need the committee to vote tonight to authorize the vote, Deb. That sends the information
That's
to
what I
the
needed.
town.
No, I'm
And
good.
that starts the clock, tonight starts
what we
the
needed to know.
clock of the 60 days.
Okay. Mark.
Okay, so,
Lee, sorry.
Mark can go.
yeah, I just want to understand this, I guess. So we take the vote tonight if we're going to use reserves. Is that for the chiller or the chiller in the press box?
My recommendation is for the chiller.
Okay, because the press box might not sit well when it gets fleshed out in local towns. I'm just telling you, that's the way it is. I mean, we got a national, economic problem, we got a state economic problem, and we got a local economic problem, right? And when people hear that you're going to spend $350,000 for a press box, I don't know. I'm just wondering.
The superintendent and I spoke the other day, I forget, Tuesday, I think, about how we are going to take the vote and how we are going to ask the towns to take the vote. And I think based on some discussion, we will split the two projects. So the total authorization for borrowing will be $750,000, but we can change the vote tonight, rewrite the vote to be two separate projects totaling $750,000. And that way it's at the town's.
Because you can make the case for the critical need for the chiller.
Absolutely.
You can't make the case for the critical need for the press box. I mean, some people probably could, but I don't think the average person can.
One you can sell, the other you couldn't.
Lee, and then Dr. Al.
Yeah, Cheryl, what's the difference between the bond aspect and the bond anticipation note aspect, aside from a
Nothing.
interest rate? What is the bond anticipation note?
It's a 1-year renewal loan. So it's like for a person, it's like a line of credit. So we borrow we borrow the whole amount and we roll it over the next year, and then we roll it over the next year for whatever length of time this committee and the town committees agree to extend the debt to. The bond is different in that you get one interest rate, because you get a different interest rate every year.
Okay, that's what.
And that's been built into these schedules.
I got it, okay.
And then when you bond it, you get one interest rate for the term. A bond anticipation note is limited to 10 years max. A bond is limited to 30 years max, but no longer than the life of the project. So it would not be probably 30 years for this equipment.
But so for the bond anticipation note, can the rate go up?
Yes, and it's actually expected to do so. Let me open that file, please.
So it can go up yearly, possibly?
Yes. I do have that.
It's like either taking out a 20-year mortgage at one point or just doing an ARM.
Right. So our financial advisor used the short-term interest rates as follows. Year 1, 4.5, year 2, 4.75, years 3 through 5, 5% on the 5-year band. On the 7-year band, still 4.5, 4.75, 5 from years 3 to 7. And in a 10-year band, same 450, 475, 5% for the remainder of the term.
But that's
An estimate,
an estimate.
yes.
So in your,
Like having a variable rate mortgage.
and you're doing what you usually do, did you try and figure out possibly, based on those rates, what it would cost us for 10 years versus what a bond would cost us for 10 years?
No, she did not give me any, she recommends this route. If we say to her, we want you to estimate based on today's bond market, what a bond would cost, but she did not give me the rate and she did not give me the schedule for that.
Okay.
Dr.
I
Allen?
can ask for it, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, I move all Cheryl's stuff, including this deed.
That's not going to work, Dr. Allen. I know you want to make it easy, but
No, I haven't finished
you
yet.
may need to rewrite the whole thing.
Doing this deed, splitting the two projects, and the chiller could use reserve money if we need to get it going.
Well, let's walk through this a bit. So let's say we do that. Okay, we go to the town meetings. Let's say what Mark says happens. Town sits there and says, any town says, chiller, we get it. But really, the other thing, we don't want to go. So based upon what we've been told, a town can come in and vote and say, you know, you did the 350K split for each one. We're going to vote you 350K. Go with the chiller. Too bad with the other thing. So that's the possibility. So my question would be, is all we need is one town not to go with us. So the other 4 towns might say, hey, yeah, sure, you know, 700K, we're happy with that. But if one town says, no, we're not going to do it. So at that point, then we can still go at least with the 350 if we want to pursue it that way, right?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Right. So we go forward with the chiller. Once again, if that occurs, then what are we looking at? What would be our approach for the football?
On the press box.
Press box.
That's not a question for me. Question for
It's
you.
us.
I'm looking at you because you.
That's a question for
That
the
would be us.
committee. How would you go back and do it? You can go back and do it again.
Right, I know that. Well, I'm just.
So that's in the
saying,
law. If somebody votes no, you can go back and you can submit the same number, just like the budget, submit the same number or submit another number.
It's something to think about. The other thing could be is, as Mark says, we could just go with the 350, get the chiller, hopefully without too much issue. You know, then do we go through this again next year at some point for the
Press box.
press box?
In what will be a worse economic situation, most likely.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, we won't have that federal stuff back, yes, stuff anymore.
So
No, would it be 2 separate articles or 1 article? Yeah, we think it needs to be 2 separate articles if we approach it that way.
absolutely, you'd have to split it up that way.
Yeah.
Well, right now, we're just hearing from a report. We don't have a motion at this moment.
Yeah, you
All right,
can
right.
just wait too, because I'd have to do a lot of
Well,
work.
Dick made a motion.
Yeah, but we're
Charles
trying
rewriting
to
the motion.
get the motion to work, what you're trying to say, but
I didn't have a second, I don't think.
as we're trying to get the language.
Yeah, but I just have to pick up the 2 cards. Yeah.
Because under new business, that motion there is the entire piece. And I know you give all the other language, which, Mark, you know, take a look at that language too. Giving us all the legal parameters.
We can amend that motion, right?
We haven't even
Well,
gone to it. We haven't gone to it.
Technically, we haven't made the.
Right now, we're,
Yes, is there any appetite for just doing a chiller and, sending people by asking for a press box? I mean, is there anything like that?
of course,
I mean, you just said 4 towns somebody just said 4 towns might be happy to pay the whole 750. I'm wondering what 4 towns that might be.
All I wanted to get out of that is all we needed was just to get to one town to not go with it. I mean, I don't know if 4 towns to go with it, maybe none would. But I kind of wanted to know, so it's not like a majority of towns say yes, and we get it. It's one town can kibosh it, one town veto power.
Def,
I do struggle with this because the towns can't afford our assessments right now. And now to go with something that we absolutely need, that's a necessity, and then just throwing in something equal cost because it's something we need eventually. That's not a necessity to open school. The chiller is. And I don't see how I can support going to the towns with this additional press box at this time, with the heavy burdens that's placed on it. I don't think it's the right time. It's the right, all the towns need things too. We need public safety buildings and, all the towns are in desperate need and can't afford the assessment. So to throw that in at this time, I don't think is a wise move for Hubbardston anyway.
I agree.
Joanne?
If I could. This most likely wouldn't affect the towns, it shouldn't affect the town's budget, and I know there's town administrators out there that don't agree with me, but a capital project or 2 capital projects of this magnitude should be a debt exclusion
Right.
and not under the levy limit. So that takes away from, they can't afford our assessments, this would be, in my opinion.
Understood, it's still coming out of the town
Taxpayer.
funds or taxpayer funds.
Yeah, I think they're talking about the way to
And it's
look.
not a necessity at this.
Still sending a message that
One
most
time.
people want to spend. I mean, at least
Joanne,
Yeah, I was just going to agree and say the same thing. I think the chiller is definitely a necessity. As a teacher who works in a classroom, it's between 80 and 90 degrees.
absolutely, yeah.
I feel that's like the least we could do for the teachers, absolutely. And the press box, yeah, I just think it's to have to present that to the town. I agree with Mark. I don't think it would go over well at all.
Sometimes it's timing, I agree.
Yeah, I tend to agree with the sense of the body here. The assessments are going to be high this year. We don't have any capital projects that I know of. And I think there's several capital projects that probably would take precedence over a press box that we've passed over. So I think, I mean, I know we really need a press box. I think that's something we really need, but I'm not sure, especially with our assessments this year, I think it's not going to get there. The town's not going to go for it.
And even though we do understand that the borrowing, it's over time, you can do debt exclusion, there's a lot more education that has to go. And you are right about appearance. I'm just saying what we're dealing with. 5 towns, we know what the necessity is. And yes, we started talking about 14 months ago about the press box and the need and everything. Right now, we have $30,000. So maybe we still need to encourage that, and we need to be able to keep pushing that forward ourselves in other ways, and we can still go. The chiller, and again, will it be able, if it doesn't pass, then we can reserve, like maybe potentially use the reserve, do it that way, that perspective. We cannot in any shape, way, or form not open school and not have the appropriate physical environment for our students.
What's the amount for just the chiller, Cheryl?
I don't think she.
What's the amount for just the chiller?
350.
387, 344. And I'm wondering if that amount is too low to actually have a bond anticipation note.
So if we put in for 400K for the chiller and it comes out at 380, what happens to the other 20K?
Sorry, say it again.
If the school committee voted for 400K for the chiller and when everything is done, it only costs
The chiller will cost that amount of money. The chiller is bid, it's that amount of money. It's on a state bid list, it's that amount of money.
Whatever we ask for.
The chiller will cost the district $387,344.
I've never known a construction process to.
It's on the state bid list, it's the number, they can't change the number.
Oh, they can't change.
No, it's
Okay.
a state bid.
All right. Okay. Well, it has a motion and nobody seconded it.
1 second.
I'm just flashing back to the town meeting in Barry a few weeks ago, and they're talking about a debt exclusion for the fire truck. And people do not understand it's $700,000, and they don't understand that it's just what you said, Cheryl, as far as not coming out of it's set aside. They see it as a 2.5 override. It's going to increase their taxes, and they're looking at. And I think it's going to be coming up at the annual town meeting again. There might be some business around that as well in Barry. And I think I would love to see a press box too, but I'm just wondering, just PR wise, the chiller is critical. I think if you kind of marry it with the press box, it might turn sour in people's minds. And I as late as last night, I was having a discussion with someone and it was a 2.5 override. No, I told them, no, it's not. It's a debt exclusion. Well, we need to pay it anyway and we don't need to exclude it. And it was just people don't understand. And I think it's going to be harder if you throw a press box into it as well at town meeting. I think it's just going to stir things up.
All right, so I want to make a motion, unless somebody wants to second this.
Could you wait before you make a motion?
Well, we're discussing this, we really should discuss it after a motion in a second. We shouldn't be discussing this
Right.
without even a motion.
Fine.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I would like to make the motion that essentially the same language, but no press box. So hereby appropriate the amount of, what did you have?
$387,344.
Right, to pay for the cost of replacing the children.
And there was second.
Yep.
Okay. So again, looking at this language under the motion here, as you said, et cetera, et cetera. For the record, do we need it stated?
This is what I'm struggling with right now. Now we're talking about a project that's going to cost New Braintree $25,000. I shot a quick email to our financial advisor. I doubt she's online. The message said, I hope you're online. I'm not sure that we can borrow $387,000. Because for the towns to pay this off, based on their apportionment this year, it's $151,000 for Barry, $61,000 from Hardwick, $99,000 for Hubbardston, $25,000 for New Braintree, and $49,000 for Ocam.
Over 5, 7, or 10 years, right?
Well, that's the total cost of the
That's
project.
what I'm saying.
That's the
what I'm
total
saying.
project, that's the total that New Braintree would pay is $25,000 of this project. So I mean, I think we need to take some kind of vote because we have to start the clock ticking, but I need to get the validity and whether we can borrow for such little money. That's an awful small amount of money. You want to pay interest for how many years on $25,000? At 4.5%? And I'd like to get advice from our financial advisor, but I'd like to take, we need the vote because we need to start the clock ticking.
There's no, the sense is no appetite here. Right now, technically, we have a motion.
In a second.
And a second.
All right, well, I need to write the actual language because this needs to be written into.
Exactly.
So those two, the two bond things are the only way we can finance, there's no other way we can borrow money?
Those are the two avenues for a public entity to borrow money, bond anticipation note and a bond.
Okay.
So I will try to get in touch with Margaret tomorrow to see, but I just need to focus on this to make sure it's the right thing to say.
We can,
Discuss it out.
Well, Cheryl said
we
she
can
needs.
post, we can postpone,
No,
we can just
that's the way-
postpone this motion to
Yeah.
come back. We can come back to it. Tonight, oh yeah, we just move on to the other
Yeah,
item.
do some
While
of the
she's
other
doing that, we
items.
could do that. We could certainly,
Hold on, I have it.
She's got it, she's got it. Just give her 2 minutes.
okay, that's what, not sure how long she needed. Would table it, you would just postpone.
Postpone, yes,
For
table it
few
for a
minutes.
little while,
for a few
yeah.
minutes. But yeah. Any other further discussion on the motion? Read, and then we'll have the final piece. Is there any other?
I think she left.
Okay.
Went to get it off the printer.
Off the printer, off the printer.
Wants to make sure it's official.
Mark, how long are you going to, not pertaining to the motion, but since we have a couple minutes, how long are we going to ask sixth graders if we made the right move by by moving the fifth graders up? I mean,
well,
are you waiting for one kid to say, I think it's sucks?
No. This is only the third one. This is the third time that I've asked. Until if they keep bringing sixth graders.
I'm telling you,
I'm waiting to
my
hear
subcommittee
10th
is telling
graders.
you it was a good move.
Look at
You
how
know?
mature they are.
Exactly.
They really are.
They
That
really
was
are.
wonderful. But yeah, I'm hoping that we see 10th graders and 12th graders, but it was what, the third year, correct? This was the third year.
Yeah.
So, third student.
So what are you saying, a couple more years?
No more. No more.
Don't worry, Mark, we can ask Bryn after next year.
Exactly. Thank you, Mrs. Kelly.
Just see her in the hallway and be like, "Hey."
Lee was, when we first happened, Lee wanted to make sure all the ducks went in a row with the Ts and the Is, and here we are just following up. All right. Lee,
Yes.
take a look.
That's your motion.
Oh, shoot, yeah, I'm gonna get.
Friends, but.
It gives out. No, we just wrote on the question what we need, right, to be reduced by grants or gifts, but it's not hard.
Leave it there? Okay.
Financial advisor was online. Wow. Yes, you can issue a ban for that amount.
Oh, good news. Yes, it's good.
So my only question, a question, I guess, is you want to put any language, do we want to put language in the beginning that says something to the effect that school committee recognizing that the middle high school could not open on time in August, votes the following? Or are we just going to just argue this at the town meetings if and when it comes up?
With all due respect, Mr. Attorney, bond council wrote this. They have to agree to all of the votes that are taken.
I just,
Okay.
you never know what the answer is until you ask the question. Right, so yeah, this is good.
But couldn't there be some maybe like press article and stating Dr. Straits, something along this line, so to kind of prep people to, not that many, not everybody reads the very Gazette, I know, but you could do that and maybe try and stop the world.
I think you're right. This is a necessity. We're not asking for something we don't absolutely need. So that needs to be definitely published everywhere we can get it, on social media or wherever. Barry Gazette, I agree with you. This is a necessity to open school. The school to open, this is something that needs to be taken care of.
I wouldn't lean on that too hard. Schools open for hundreds of years without chillers. It was the Wednesday after Labor Day.
Some people were going to say.
But so then it would be something. So there was a very smart selectman that thought that someone would say that issue. The chiller regulates the heat throughout the building. It is not an air conditioning system.
Right.
It regulates the heat. We have forced hot water. You set it on 65 or 72. It regulates the heat throughout the whole building. This is not an air conditioning system.
Who do you think in the town meeting is going to understand that?
I think-
So, people look like air conditioning.
I think that's why, it's written as HVAC system because it is a repair to the HVAC system. And I think that is the language that we need to use when we talk about this. This is an essential repair to the HVAC system. I agree.
AC is air conditioning.
Yeah, but the H is what?
Heat in the winter, yes. Yes.
Heating, ventilation, air conditioning.
Yeah.
That's
That's correct.
right.
Doesn't mean, right, it's encompassing.
It just so happens that the kids will be starting school, and it's hot out, and we need to regulate
The airflow.
the airflow in the building. Correct.
It happens in the winter though too, and that's the story.
One of the big things with the whole COVID thing,
Right.
poor ventilation in the schools.
Yeah,
It's one thing
exactly.
we have to look at and
Be right.
get hold of.
We evaluated that, continue to evaluate that.
Yep.
See, that's much more pervasive.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lee, read the motion.
Motion of the Quabbin Regional School District, the district, hereby appropriate the amount of $387,344 to pay costs of replacing the chiller component of the HVAC system at the Quabbin Regional Middle High School, including for each of such projects, payment of all costs incidental and related thereto. Boy, what lawyer wrote this up? To meet this appropriation, the district is authorized to borrow a set amount under and pursuant to Chapter 71, Section 16D of the general laws and the district agreement as amended, or pursuant to any other enabling authority. Total amount authorized to be borrowed by this vote shall be reduced to the extent of any grants or gifts received by the district on account of this project. Further voted that within 7 days from the date on which the vote was adopted, Secretary be and hereby is instructed to notify the Board of Selectmen or Select Board, as the case may be, of each of the member towns of the district as to the amount and general purposes of the debt herein authorized, as required by the district agreement and by Chapter 71, Section 16D of the general laws.
So I messed up where he said it doesn't make sense is because there were 2 projects in there, including for each of such projects really should be withdrawn. I missed that when I was.
Okay, for each of such projects.
Including for each of such projects.
And strike.
And Cheryl, does it make sense to put, I mean, we referenced the district agreement. Does it make sense to reference whatever page or section of the district agreement this comes under?
Want me to find that?
Would it be quick?
I thought you had it right here.
Section 6, right? Section 6, incurring of debt.
Yep.
Section 6. Of the regional.
Section 6.
Page.
Page 8.
Page 8.
Okay. So district agreement, we can put in paren after that. Section 6, page 8.
Section 6, page 8.
So the first reference to the district agreement is in the first paragraph, so that's where it can be placed. You don't have to.
First sentence.
We don't have to place it in the second paragraph.
First sentence, okay.
Can I print this out and have you edit again, please?
Oh, sure.
Oh, we'll wait for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Easy to just write up.
It's not applicable, we can't use it.
Right. Okay. No, true.
To take out, yes, right?
I would say so.
Everybody want a copy of this, or should I just print one? Just one, that's good.
as part of it.
See that, please?
My dad, if you have access to the
Honor. Peter, again, do I?
No. As long as you made the insertion, that can be then quickly agreed to.
And the excision.
That can be quickly,
Is it second?
just
Yeah, that's good.
good.
Yep.
So where you're okay. Good. It's been second. All in agreement for the quick addition? Was made? Okay. It's been seconded. I'm just waiting for Dr. Allen.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Amy's vote by proxy. I'm gonna hold.
So just as an aside to this, the sixth grade student, his grandmother and I went to elementary school together. I had his mother in fifth and sixth grade, and now he's here, but I'm not any older.
Ah. All right. Dr. Allen, we're ready for a roll call.
Yes.
Okay.
Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willannon?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Ms. Cartier?
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Cormier?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wiggler?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Jean-Francois?
Yes.
And Chairman Brophy.
Yes. Cheryl, do you want to keep going? Because there might be the acceptance piece might be able to be done too, so.
Okay, so Northfield Mount Herman School contacted the district and asked if we would be interested in a building that is 110 feet by 32 feet. It's an enclosed pavilion that they purchased in 2020 during COVID for additional room. There are a little caveats to this. They are asking that our team take it down, clean up the site, be responsible for transporting it and whatever, but at no cost. So they would like to actually gift it to the district. Our team did go out, our plant facilities team went out and checked it out. There are pictures online in your report to see it. Well, we're not sure if we will use the whole 110 feet or not. It will go out by the building on the other end of the football field. It does need to be used to support our athletic program. They did ask for that. It's more than enough space for that and other things. And it's in very, very good condition. So we believe that we can transport it using our own vehicles. Plus, we would need to commission a longer trailer to get the long pieces, but we do have someone in mind locally that would be willing to transport this for us. And we need to remove it by the end of the month. So we can get all of that done if we're getting a free building according to Mr. Clark and his team.
Dr. Allen?
Yeah, move acceptance with thanks.
And to send a letter. We need to send a letter.
And a letter as well.
Second.
Beautiful. That's on the item as well. So any further discussion?
Thank you.
First off, as you can see, look at the picture, you can see that.
That's great.
And it's wonderful. And what a great gift,
Yeah.
Quabbin, for that connection for us.
My
So-
old town.
Any further discussion, anything, any comment? Question? Roll call?
Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willannon?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Ms. Cartier?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Cormier?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wiggler?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Jean-Francois?
Yes.
Chairman Brophy.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I have for you.
Next, we have a report from Mr. Myville. You can see he's inserted a photo of some of our seniors who have committed to playing athletics at their post-secondary institutions of choice. And he also highlighted that we have 43 members of the senior class participating in athletics this year, and 31 played 2 or 3 sports. That's pretty spectacular. But there's more detail there, and he always links the athletic schedule in the part for you to access if you'd like to attend any events. Mr. Devine, you are up next.
I'll try to be as brief as I can. There's a whole lot of things going on out my way. First of all, I'll put the 2 first bullets that are there together, the early college process and dual enrollment. This past week, the state rolled out the early college process that we've talked about in the past. Part A for that early college application is going to be due in August. I think it's August 25th is the date. We'll continue to work with Worcester State University to develop a letter of intent that we need to submit. It's non-binding and also optional for June 7th. We will get that done. And we plan on having an informational session and kind of feedback session for parents and kids on June 7th of this year. So more information about that will be shared with you before we get to June 7th. Dual enrollment, there's also funding for dual enrollment, which is a little different than early college. Early college is a more comprehensive program. Dual enrollment, the colleges are providing certain coursework specific to our kids. And right now we're working with Worcester State College to provide 2 dual enrollment courses over the course of the next year at no cost to our kids. We're looking at potentially having one in summer session and another 1 or 2 during the course of the year. And that's an ongoing discussion at this point. We've also been made aware of the opportunities, and I've been in touch with Mount Wachusett Community College that are offering 3 courses this summer that are fully remote for students that can access one fire science course, a psychology course, and I honestly can't remember what the other one was, but our kids can access that. The guidance department is aware of that, and they can help kids kind of go through that process. I actually became aware of the Mount Wachusett program through one of our students that actually applied for the program. And then they reached out to us to find out, how that will work. We have the development of a relationship with Assumption University. We've had Ashley Chorba and myself. Ashley Chorba is a guidance counselor in the middle high school for grades 8 and 9. And she and I have worked together with Assumption University over the course of the past year. She's an alum of Assumption to develop a program for our 8th to 9th graders that would take place the week after school gets out, where we want to encourage students that may not traditionally have considered college in the past to be able to experience what life is like on a college campus, or what it's like to be on a college campus for 2 days on June 27th and 28th. We're working with Worcester Public Schools, Assumption University. We're in the process of getting a flyer out in the next couple of days. We have to have it's because it's got Assumption's logo on it. Assumption's got to approve that. But that will be made available for up to 20 of our students on those 2 days in June at no cost to the kids. The only cost that we might incur is transportation, and we'll talk about that.
We got vans.
Yes, you're right. You know what? And we could easily get 20 kids to Assumption in those 2 days in those vans. So thank you. So we do have the vans, and that will definitely help us. Another thing that we're working on with Assumption, I've worked with them. There are different school districts in the area that are partner school districts to Assumption University. And I had the conversation with them, and Dr. Muir and I talked about this, and they sent us an MOU to become a partner district with Assumption University. That MOU is presently, I guess, sitting on the provost's desk at Assumption University. We'll hear back from them soon. What that does is it will give our faculty and staff the opportunity to get a 25% discount on tuition for graduate courses at Assumption University if we simply make the information about Assumption University available to our faculty and staff during professional development time. So I think that's a great opportunity. We have had many of our faculty and staff that are graduates of Assumption University, either from a master's program or their bachelor's program. It's quality, especially in the areas of counseling and psychology. For a lot of our staff have gone there, And that's an exciting thing for our people to have. As far as the work-based learning, we're in the process of giving our students the opportunity to pursue internships for the 23-24 school year in their senior year. A change of schedule will allow our students to pursue internships either for an entire year or for half of the year. A questionnaire went out to members of the junior class today to kind of gauge how many students they'd be interested in that. And then once the scheduling is complete for kids, we don't really look at internships and where an internship can fit in a kid's schedule until we know that they get their required classes. The internship really is an elective, but it is an opportunity, and we kind of, that will happen over the course of the next few weeks in the summer. We have 10 students that will be offered the opportunity to work in our summer academic camps. That we did this last year also through Mass Hire, where students were paid by the state through Mass Hire at a rate of $15 an hour for up to 100 hours over the course of the 5 weeks of those programs. We have an opportunity for 10 students, but we have 21 students at this point that are interested in that employment opportunity. I'm hoping we have, if you see the next paragraph, we also have up to 20 internship opportunities through STEM. And because the STEM camps potentially fit that, we may be able to offer more students that opportunity to work here over the course of the summer, being paid by the state through a grant. So those are great things that are happening there. Post-grad support. The post-grad program continues to kind of expand in terms of their development of business acumen and what direction they want to go in. We've talked about them in the past potentially developing some businesses and to kind of dip their toe in the water. They would like to, or they're going to run a townwide yard sale in New Braintree on June 10th. We had a student that went to the New Braintree Select Board meeting last month, Haley Puska, who presented on behalf of post-grads, and the New Braintree Select Board was very supportive of them. They're even receiving mail for us over there. Like, they have a little box where people can drop things off. And Aaron Ballard, who's the secretary over there, has handed me a bunch of envelopes today for people that want to have their name and address on a map for the townwide yard sale on June 10th. We're accepting donations for anything for our kids to sell. We're going to set that up in the cafeteria. There's already quite a bit of stuff there. If you would like to bring things here to central office, we're going to take the date of May 26th and come around to buildings in the district and kind of collect stuff. So you're welcome to bring it to New Braintree Grade School at any time during the school hours, or you can drop it off here at any time, and Jess will find a place to put it.
Right, Jess.
Yeah, Jess.
Partnerships.
Yeah. Oh, all the materials are going to your home.
Bring for the yard sale.
Sure.
Thanks, Jess.
You're welcome.
Just leave it by your car.
Working for business partnerships, as Mr. Wyman said earlier, we have some students that are going to assistant engineering in Orange, Mass. I want to thank Mr. Nutter for kind of making a connection for us there. That's been really productive in terms of the conversations we've had in the past month or so. And our kids are actually involved there with Brent Folger and a number of them this coming week. On May 23rd, we've invited employers in the area to attend an informational session for our seniors that plan on entering the workforce upon graduation. There's a number of those kids every year. Some of those kids don't have any idea what they're doing. Some of those kids know very well what they're doing. What I found interesting is by reaching out to these companies, I finally made a connection at Seaman Paper Company in Gardner, which is kind of a city-state paper company, and come to find out that a former student that I had worked with, Ryan Litchwell, from the class of 2000, Quabbin graduate, is the president and chief operating officer of Seaman Paper. So it was wonderful to be in touch with him. His response was very gracious and very quick. In terms of student access to mental health support, we talked briefly last month. The superintendent and I went out to the Roots program in Gardner on a windy, cold day in early April. And they offer a program where students can access non-traditional outpatient therapy for mental health issues. And we are piloting a program to get 2 students right now there during the school day. And they're processing the intake for those 2 students as we speak. They're reaching out to families, and that's happening. We also had a meeting with Colleen Fors, who was a support counselor for our therapeutic classrooms in our middle and high school, and she introduced us to Massachusetts School-Based Telebehavioral Health Project. And access to this program would also provide expanded resources for our students in the area of mental health. And at this point, we're kind of in the process of exploring the program. So there's a lot of things that are going on in terms of making connections to things outside the district, and I believe it benefits all of our students. So thank you.
Thank you. I just put, thank you, Superintendent, for all those reports and information. Cheryl, you're all set? Everything's done on that? Okay. Teacher Advisory Council?
Ms. Berenger's not here.
Okay. Subcommittee reports. Administrative review, central office? Nothing?
Nothing.
Okay. Budget?
We have, we're gonna have to schedule another meeting. We didn't have a meeting since our last meeting. And the letters are out to the towns, and that's the letters they're gonna be dealing with at the town meeting, right? To a large extent, because we're not gonna be making any modifications prior to that. Is that correct?
Well, we're, if you schedule another meeting, we're going to meet with the administrator. Now that we have the Senate Ways and Means numbers, we will be meeting with administration and taking another look and seeing if there's anything that, that we can do to, again, we're at a critical point where if we are cutting any deeper, we're going to be looking at programs. So we're going to have to really think about which programs are the programs that are going to be affected by additional cuts. But we will be meeting with the administration next week.
So as soon as you want to schedule a meeting, I'd be happy to chair a meeting. Yeah, I guess, I would think that maybe all along, department heads and cost center managers were taking a hard look. I mean, it's not rocket science to understand that this isn't really a great year. And if you have a department, you would probably be taking a look at, well, where could I, if I really had to, make a cut, or is there something in here that we really don't need? I mean, it's not pretty, and it's not, doesn't make people happy to do that, but the bottom line is it still needs to be done.
What I do appreciate is Dr. Mueller's perspective is, yes, they want to look at it, see what they can, and just take a look, and yes, to open to a meeting in a couple of weeks. So yes, there can be another eye look, and for us to be prepared that we may have to have a full committee if there's potential adjustments. So again, I respect the administration's we as a committee, not only do we do the preliminary look and the programs and what we value and what we believe in the budget, and programming is something that we have been very good at not cutting along the way. So I appreciate our commitment to what we believe in for the budgets to stand by.
One of the factors, again, that we are continually grappling with, and I'm not sure, we're hoping that will be resolved by the time town meetings happens, is that we have 5 open contracts. And we cannot predict exactly where we're going to end up with those contracts. And that's, as you know, salaries are the biggest part of our budget. So that is one of the most challenging circumstances of a budget year in which we're negotiating 6 contracts. So that is a factor that, it's really difficult to cuts in those areas until those negotiations have wrapped up. We are meeting virtually every day with one or more employee groups to try to wrap this process up, but it's very intense, and it has taken a tremendous amount of time, and we're working very hard with the budget, as you'll hear when we have the budget subcommittee reports out, that the process is ongoing, and we're hoping to wrap it up as quickly as possible. We're working, as I said, quite intensively to try to get it to the point that it's wrapped up, but that is one of the factors that is, making cuts more challenging than in a year when we know exactly what our employee raises are going to be.
Okay. So stay tuned. Collective bargaining.
Okay, we As you know, you approved or we accepted the teacher's contract back in April. Yesterday, there was a tentative agreement that was reached between the Office Association, which is the secretaries, and us. They need to have their membership approve the agreement, and then it'll be presented to the school committee probably in June for our approval. As Dr. Muir pointed out, we're still ongoing negotiations with the paraprofessionals, the nutrition workers, the custodians, and the office managers. And as she said, we met every afternoon, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we just walked off the whole afternoon. Dr. Muir, Mrs. Duvall, Cheryl Duvall, excuse me, Cheryl, and Nancy Landry. The support that we get from them is incredible. Colleen's in the room, Joe Wyman, Kristen Campione. Everybody brings a whole lot to the table. I want to just reinforce what Dr. Muir said about Nancy Landry before. She performs a very important role in this. And I saw visions of it when we were talking about the motion here tonight and what went on between Lee and Cheryl about the language, because that is what goes on in negotiations. And so you're talking about that kind of detail. Nancy Landry is accepted on both sides of the table as the recorder of record. So when we start a session, Nancy's document is the document that everyone goes through. Whatever had been decided previously is laid out. The language that was changed is laid out. So Nancy keeps track of all that. And I don't know how she does it, but she does it. And in a very understated, confident way, she's always there and it's always ready. And on top of it, she's asked to contribute and to participate in the meetings as well, given her expertise. So Cheryl is constantly crunching numbers for us to make us understand and make the other people understand exactly what they're asking for, what the intended and unintended consequences of that request might be. So there's a tremendous amount of work that's been going on in central office. So it's ongoing, and we'll just keep plugging away, and hopefully by the June meeting, we'll have some more, but we don't know. There are a number of issues, and we're going to hope they're going to be resolved as soon as possible. So, Mark, we can kind of move on to where you want to be.
So when you talk about unintended consequences, right? You know, so people do realize that it's a tight year, and programmatically we want to keep everything we got, but yet, if the town does not approve our numbers, we're going to be back talking about it.
Understood. But you saw with the presentation with the teachers exactly where they were and what they were looking at in terms of the cost of living for the past 3 years too.
Yeah.
So we've got
Same parameters, kind of, hopefully.
I can't say.
It's ongoing.
It's complicated.
It's ongoing, but.
Right. To be fair, you should point out, we did not meet on Cinco de Mayo.
We did. Because Cheryl required, no.
No, I had the first off. I didn't have synchrony.
Okay. It was the first to make you up.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Buildings and grounds.
Nothing.
Policy review and inform.
First Monday in October.
Okay, student services.
Nothing.
Okay, technology.
Mr. Walsh took care of the.
Okay. Ad hoc school district configuration.
Nothing.
Superintendent search.
Yes. We
Update.
have had a couple of meetings since we've last met. All of our meetings have been held in executive session at this point. We reported out, we had 16 candidates initially. We were down to 14. The committee voted to interview 6. We also actually shared out through email to all of you the results from the feedback from the survey that MASC had conducted on our qualifications and parameters. And ultimately, we ended up interviewing 4 out of the 6 over 2 evenings. And a motion was made and seconded to report to the full school committee that the superintendent search and screening subcommittee was unable to bring forth 2 candidates as required by state statute to the full committee for consideration as finalists for the position of superintendent of schools. MASC, Liz LaFond, has reiterated it every meeting several times that it was an unprecedented year. There was over 40 vacancies that they handled, and the candidate pool was just not as strong as we came in later. And we're a unique district, and at this time, we'll need to defer back to the full committee as we have no candidates to move forward as finalists.
So none of them, in the opinion of the committee, were somebody we wanted as our superintendent?
We needed to move forward. The state statute mandates that we move at least 2 candidates forward. And the subcommittee was unable, and search committee was unable to present more than 1.
One, okay.
We were unable to present any finalists to the full committee.
Yeah, as Deb is talking that she's following what not only is the perspective, the Attorney General has weighed in the state of Massachusetts as well, and has interpreted the regulation that if you have a permanent open search, which we went, that's the process that the committee went, you had to meet that minimum requirement. I'm going to refer to Deb and to Walter. Am I correct? You had to meet that.
The open meeting law.
So the open meeting, you had to move at least 2 people, Dave as well. And if Joanne.
Yeah.
Emily?
Yeah.
So from the subcommittee level, you did what was asked. You expanded it to the screening committee. We hired a consultant, which the consultant did say that
she recommends
the fall, or what did she?
That we start the search again in the fall, that she believes that there will be more candidates at that time. People have had time to think about it, or maybe thought that they should have put in, or some of the new positions sometimes don't always work out. So people may be looking for different opportunities at that time, or people think, well, maybe their background's similar to someone who was recently hired as a superintendent. So maybe they'll think that, maybe they could be equally qualified and have a chance as well. So she feels that opening it back up in the fall, we hopefully would have a fresher pool of candidates at that time.
We'll do a dump in the meantime.
I do really want to thank the subcommittee and search committee. It was 16 members, and it was an honor to work with all these people. The time, the commitments, we had to make adjustments as we went, have meetings at last minutes, and everybody was more than ready to roll up their sleeves and put in the work and the time. And it was a really valuable learning experience, I think, for all of us. Not that I have to have favorites, but I really, really appreciated having a student on that committee. I think that perspective was very important to do the work that we were presented with. And the students did a fantastic job. Everyone did. And it was just a pleasure. So I'm sorry that we were unable to present any candidates to you tonight. However, we need to make sure that we have the right fit, and we just haven't found that fit yet.
It was Deb was just saying that obligation was to bring finalists to us. And under that, they weren't able to meet it. So we would be looking at an interim superintendent. And I know that we can talk the strategy in executive session, how we're going to do that. I'm just going to echo the work and the hours that you put in the committee. And we, please, just my quick comment, anyone else can have a comment as well. Dr. Mayo gave us ample notice, not a problem on that, no fault, no that. It was January. By the time we went, it was February. We knew, even from dealing with the process, we knew. And as Deb mentioned, Mr. Chamberlain mentioned, the unprecedented of how many openings were there. So if here we are, and we kind of knew that going, but we felt as a full committee.
We were a little late in the game, she said.
That, let's see what's there. So I have to say, thank you, all of it, for doing that, because the work, and then the 16 people, you made it a screening, you did what you had to do, and you followed, we're going to follow the law. We're not, we do that, and we've always followed what we're supposed to do in our process. So is there any other comment on this at this moment? Because we can strategize in the executive in regards to dealing with a interim superintendent.
Now, when are we going to decide on the process of the interim superintendent?
Correct. We would at least.
When do we plan to do that? Like the next meeting or?
Oh, well, we can technically, in the executive session, we're chatting, but we know we're moving toward, we all know we have to go with an interim superintendent.
Right.
Oh, there is another way. Yes, there is. We can certainly redo. Right now, you could redo it and do it all over again and have the subcommittee do it and everything else. But I gather the sense of the subcommittee was they did their position, they moved it forward, and here's what the recommendation was. So it really then puts us in the interim
And the good news
superintendent
is,
perspective.
we had kind of talked a lot about the language in the beginning before when we were just the search committee. And MASC is still on board with us. So we didn't specifically need to have that language in, but that's something that they've provided. So we do not need to go out to bid again or for quotes again on a contract. They're still on board to help us through this process. So whatever, yes, they are with us to continue until we can find a superintendent.
Right. A lot of the initial work is done.
Right,
You know,
right.
The flyer.
And the survey.
But we don't need to
Right.
start over with a new request
It's not
for
really
quotes
square one.
to start the process again in the fall. They're still on board with us under the current contract.
So we know we're going to be, and we're going to have to have a special meeting. We'll see our processes. We talk, but there will be an interim perspective. And I'm not speaking for the superintendent, but the superintendent did say that she'd be willing to help us all through this as we continue to work through this. Am I correct that you said?
Of course, yes, absolutely.
Just wanted to mention it again, that, so people had a little bit of an ease on that because the time, effort and everything, and appreciate it. And it's disheartening, but we kind of knew, but until you go and look and do, you don't see. So, all right, so.
And we do appreciate the candidates as well. They were,
Yes.
very qualified candidates, just not, we are unique here with our configuration and being regional, and it's a unique skill set that we're looking for.
Just curious, I don't know offhand, how many districts are 5+? 5 or 5+?
To know that, I think there's just a handful.
I think Liz did say that one night, didn't she? Was it? Do you remember?
Like 5 or 6?
5 or 6.
There was only seven.
7 districts in the Commonwealth that have 5 or more communities.
Yeah.
And Wachusett would be.
Well, other than vocational.
Other than, yeah, no,
Right.
not vocational. But, anything else?
That's it. Thank you,
Okay.
unless you.
No, I have nothing. You did a good job.
Okay, so then
Not the
we'll go.
news we wanted to report,
Right.
but.
Unfinished business is none. Public comment? Any public comment this evening?
There's no one online.
School committee concerns? Any? Good. None. So one next item in a new business, we took care out of 3 out of the 4. We did the acceptance. We have, oh, sorry, I apologize, I need my glasses. Discussion of a student advisory committee with a member to serve a 1-year term on school committee. Walter Nutter.
So as Deb said a few minutes ago, we had a Quabbin senior on the search committee, and he was very impressive, smart kid, engaged in the process. And it just made me realize that if we could have a student here sit with us and be kind of a voice, you know, for the students, he wouldn't be able to vote. He'd be a voting member, but he could be a member of the school committee. And there's a law that provides for it in the general laws of Massachusetts. So I just think it's something that we should think about. I think Mark might have something more to say about it, but I think it was very beneficial to the search committee. I think it'd be worthwhile for the school committee to have that student member. Who would be, I think, a senior, right?
Probably doesn't have, yes, most probably is. But what I'd like to thank you for when Walter brought this and asked me about it. Walter has brought it about a year and a half ago. Not only when we've gone down to the Cape for our conference with the Mass School Committee Association and the school superintendents, but we already have a student advisory. We have that, the way you do in Quabbin. So you've been doing a perspective that we've been doing. We hear from students. But I just wanted to tell you that under this section of the law states that a school committee that's in towns, shall meet at least once every month. Okay. During the months of the school session, a student advisory committee to consist of 5 members to be composed of students elected by the student body of high school in each city, town, or regional school district. The members of such student advisory committee shall, by a majority of vote, by June 1st, there's a couple of parameters for it. But really, it talks about if the school committee would like to go that type of route. And the student is ex officio, non-voting member of and without a right to attend executive sessions unless such right is expressly granted. Said chairperson shall be accepted to all school committee rules and regs. A school committee may designate a student outreach coordinator to be part of it. So when Walter mentioned this, I thought, great, bring it to the committee. You see what we do with students. And I think if the committee, and I talked to Walter, that I think what we need to do is look at it, truly study it, look at it, see if it's a reality based upon what we do, how we do with students. We hear from this, and if you can, and to look at other districts that might do it. So you just don't do it just willy-nilly, you want to know. And I would think that it would be nice if the Central Office Administrative Review would take this on to see, would send it to committee, and Walter would have agreed that we could look at it. It doesn't mean we are ready for it, but really says that, as you know, our kids have a voice. You've heard it more than not just from me or anybody. Others hear that. How do we like it? Do we like the model that's been in for how many years? 20, 25 years? Many years.
1967.
1967, the way we've been doing it. So it's kind of time.
Well, I haven't been on all that.
So it's kind of time. And in today's world, and as student voice is important, we make decisions that way.
So I think it's a good idea, but part of the reality is for students to come and show up a month or, once or twice, et cetera. Now, some years ago, I don't want to name drop, but Cooper Willannon was a student rep. And for a year and a half, he was here pretty much almost.
I remember.
Yes. Very dedicated, but there were times he couldn't do it because these kids have a lot of stuff to do. I mean, really, you have to, the student has to be very dedicated to want to do this. And if we do it, I have no problem with us doing it, but I want to make sure we don't set a student up so that they, on one hand, feel they have to be here, even though they may not want to. They might want to be here, once every 2 months or 3 months, but maybe every month, or if we have special meetings, et cetera. That might get to be a lot for them. And I guess the second part would be, how is such a student chosen?
There's a process part. There's a process.
Right.
Student
It's a
council and all
process.
that.
Right, so it's going to be from the school's end, et cetera.
Right.
So, there were just things to watch out for, popularity contests. There are a lot of elements that come in. I think it's great. I would love to see a student sit here for the whole year. I think that would be great. But I'm not as excited about it as I might be, because I just think there's a lot of pitfalls. That shouldn't stop us from looking at it,
Exactly.
but these are considerations I think we need to think about.
The student advisory council elects the person. He or she would be the chairman.
Right, and that's
the chairman, and that chairman would become the school committee member.
The representative.
And you have to have an interest too from the students as well. It's not just us, demanding that.
Right.
that they're on.
Right, Mrs. Kelly?
So we have, over the last couple of years, we developed part of our leadership initiative at Eagle Hill. And we actually have a group called the Core. And they are our student kind of advisors to our admin team. And so what we do is we have the students that make up the Core are representatives of our 4 core values. They are selected by the senior class before them as a hand, like this is the responsibility. It's just our process. It's not the process I'm suggesting, but and we have 8 students. So I meet with those 8 students once a week, and we talk about student concerns and we talk about the things that they want to implement. And then they meet with the admin team once a month. And sometimes it's all 8 of them. Sometimes it's the 6 that don't have athletic games at that time. But have found that when you have that student voice, it puts some more legitimacy to what the admin is doing. And they can go and then talk to the other kids about the things that are being talked about. And it's like the transparent part of it. And we've implemented some things where they have sole responsibility for certain pieces. So we do Be the Good awards that are in conjunction with our 4 core values. And one Monday a month, we have a Dress to Impress dinner, and all the kids come dressed up. And the 4 core values present awards to students that have been nominated over the course of the month. And our core members do that. We have found that because we have our student council as well. Our student council is also elected by the student body. They're more about community and community spirit, where our core members are that kind of link administratively. So it's a different group of kids really that is selected from there, and they're selected by the kids. So
right.
They accept the nomination, and that's another important part. When they're nominated for that role, the kids say, yes, I accept that part. It's not like, okay, now all of a sudden you have all this responsibility. Good luck to you.
Good. So if there's no objection, send it to committee for review and to evaluate that with a report back and a recommendation.
Yeah. Ned was on that committee with me.
Well, in June.
And you as well. So.
But you know what, we'll be signing up for committees in June as well.
All right,
So we
got it,
know we'll
got
be
it.
moving.
Okay.
Because, but at least we've got time to do it. But at the same time, it is not only worthwhile, but you mentioned this about a year and a half ago. And then in this fall, we spoke again. And then you shared it and said, and I said, well, yes, I think, and I shared it with the superintendent and I said, yes, bring it, make it your item so we can then do it.
Because it was with the search committee though that I really that really got.
That honed in.
So.
Okay, good.
So think about it in the meantime.
We'll get it going with our members. We will. Next is a request for executive session to discuss strategy sessions preparation. So moved. Is there a second? Sure. And I need a roll call, how it works for, to go into executive session.
Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willannon?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Ms. Cartier?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Cormier?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wiggler? Mrs. Thompson?
She's not longer with us. No, she's not.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Jean-Francois?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.